Welcome to the Pitcher Nail Down. I'm Jason Gilbo, J Gilbo 11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J Clay. Taking a look at pitching on tonight's 9-game slate. And much like last night, you have one option up top, and then it's just a whole lot of drudge below.
Yeah, I was pretty much joking before the show that just play FanDuel, throw in DeGrom, and head out for the night. But, I mean, obviously we're going to break this down for you. But, yeah, it's pretty ugly out there.
I mean, we were kind of debating, I think last night was bad, but is tonight even worse, even though DeGrom has been a little bit more consistent? A guy like Fernandez. I mean, obviously DeGrom's still the top option, but Fernandez was last night too, and still he did not have a good outing.
Even with 2 more games, I think tonight's worse. That's my take as of now.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think tonight is a far worse night than on pitching, and DK forcing you to choose an extra pitcher is just that's
definitely.
So jumping right into things, 7:05 Yankees and Orioles, and Camden Yards doesn't see over-unders of 7.5 too often, but with these two arms, I think you don't like the ballpark. You don't like these two offenses at times, but overall, Vegas does have this one as one of the lower scoring games. It features Tanaka and Kevin Gausman there.
Yeah, I actually do like Tanaka as much as I joke about the slate. I think in terms of who he's going up against with the pitchers tonight, I just think it's a pretty solid option, even though I'm not afraid of this Orioles offense, but I do think they can do some damage. But I think in terms of the matchup, things line up pretty well for him.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that, Orioles right now rank 4th in the league in WOBA against right-handed pitching, which, as you mentioned, it is scary. But they also do have a decent strikeout rate of near 22%. So Tanaka is a guy who can miss some bats. He's been doing that so far. And overall, going back to last year, he is a guy who misses plenty of bats, 23% strikeout rate. So I think GPPs-wise, he's a solid play. This game is a pick-em pretty much. But overall, I do think he is the number 2 option tonight.
And I think on DK, it's such scarce options that he's kind of sneaking into cash for me too, just because there's no other real strong options. So on FanDuel, obviously, I don't think you're really looking at him, but for DK, I think he's actually in play for cash.
Yeah, the only thing that he's playable for on FanDuel is for GPPs, just because DeGrom's clear-cut cash option, and
right,
at $1,400 cheaper, that is a sizable discount, and Tanaka is a guy who can put up solid fantasy points,
right?
So we were looking at Gausman. He's been solid. He is going to be a quality arm, and he can be at times. Obviously, the price tag on DraftKings is $6,900, kind of puts him on your radar. Hasn't picked up a win this season. Hasn't been bad. He is facing a team with a lot of lefties, but he hasn't been bad against left-handers. But still, lefties in Camden Yards in this ballpark, it is a little bit worrisome for a guy like Gausman, who can be home run prone at times. Obviously, this Yankees team struggling, but still, 1 through 6, they do have some bats that can go off.
Yeah, for tournaments tonight, I'm okay with him, is how I would describe it, but not a strong option by any means. And as you mentioned, the matchup and the ballpark is kind of, it would make you stay away on most nights. But for tournaments, I'm okay with throwing a lineup in there with him.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. And Yankees, at the moment, 25th in WOBA against right-handers. The strikeout rate's not as high as you want, but Gausman, definitely a guy who can punch out 4 or 5, and he's not going to have to do a whole lot just at that price tag.
Right.
So next game here, you got the Texas Rangers and Toronto Blue Jays, 8.5 over-under. Toronto big favorites here. Derek Holland versus J.A. Happ. You were joking before the show. You said you're going to sacrifice yourself for the good of the industry and play Derek Holland tonight so everyone can have their Blue Jays shares of offense go off.
Yeah, I think when you look at Holland, he's actually done pretty well this year. The price is a little high for tonight compared to most people, but I'm okay with it. And I'm starting to not be afraid of this Vegas run total for the Blue Jays every night. It's always high, and they got 4 last night, which was all right, but I'm just not afraid of them right now, I guess is how I would describe it, I'm just not afraid of them. So I'm going for it. I'm going to dive on this grenade for you guys, and then they're going to put up 10 runs tonight. So there you go.
I mean, I think last night and the night before, I mean, Colby Lewis, Martin Perez, it was like, all right, we're expecting the Blue Jays to go off this series.
Mhm.
And even tonight, you'd look at it any other night and be like, all right, you're stacking Jays yet again. I mean, Holland, you're kind of average left-hander, but as you mentioned, the Blue Jays have not been good this year, and they're striking out a ton, 26% against southpaws. Um, it's just one of those things where I can't muster myself to take any lefty against the Blue Jays but you're diving on that grenade anyway for us, so it doesn't
Right.
even
You
matter.
don't have to, and that's fine. But I think there needs to be a conversation to be started because obviously the Blue Jays are going to turn this around at some point. But instead of fully just going with them every night, why not like make the contrarian move here based on this small sample? At least see it through, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's a good point because you've looked at the hitters here. The ownership hasn't really dropped a tremendous amount because they're
Mm-mm.
struggling. You're still rolling out Blue Jays night in and night out against this weak
Right.
arms, and you made the comparison to blackjack. You just keep playing until you win a hand, and it's eventually going to happen. Um, and so yeah, I mean you are going up, against the grain with Holland there, and I don't think it's a bad idea. It's also a high risk, high reward type of play.
Yes. Very high risk tournament only. But yeah, I do think it's in play.
I mean, on the other side, Jay Happ been very solid so far to start the season.
Hmm.
2.76 ERA. He's pitched well. Hasn't had any real blowups. To start the season, I mean, he's pitching deep into game 6 or more so far to start the year. Strikeout rate usually around 4 or 5 per game. He can dial it up. This is a Texas offense that is heavily left-handed. They're not great against southpaws. They rank in the middle of the league, 21.6% strikeout rate. A big line there for Toronto. Jay Happ, kind of an interesting SP2 option on DraftKings. I'm not a big fan on FanDuel, but I think as an SP2 option, he might be my lone guy that I feel remotely comfortable with just at that price tag.
Yeah, I mean, if things go the way they should, he's looking at a strong chance at a win here. So, yeah, definitely with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't like playing a lot of teams in Rogers Center, but overall, I think this Rangers offense really is kind of middle of the road against lefties. So I'm not completely afraid of rolling out Hap here.
Mm-hmm.
So next game, you got 7-10 here, Brewers and the Reds, over under of 9. Cincinnati small favorites, -108. So essentially kind of a pick 'em game. Chase Anderson, Alfredo Simon. No thank you to either of these arms here at all.
Again, Chase Anderson, happiest guy on the DK lineup in terms of pictures, but I can't touch either of these guys tonight. No, pretty much no matter what.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely in agreement. I just think Simon. I know this Brewers team's heavily right-handed, and his big weakness is righties, but overall Simon's not a good arm. Chase Anderson, I know the Reds are a mediocre offense, but once again, I'm not rostering bad pitchers. That's the thing here. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
it's
just both bad.
Even with Cincy being a below average offense, I mean, there's still blow up potential here for Chase. So yeah, I'm fading this whole game
and it's a great ballpark.
Yeah.
So the next one here, Diamondbacks and Marlins. We were both kind of looking at these arms. It's over under of 8, but you're also looking at 2 top 5 offenses so far to start the season against southpaws. A lot of right-handed bats in that Arizona lineup. And you're also looking at some really strong Miami bats, guys like Prado, Ozuna, Stanton, JT Realmuto, who hit left-handed pitching really well. Ray not in play for me. I'm looking at a lot of Marlins bats. Conley's a guy who's an interesting GPP pivot because Diamondbacks are kind of up and down at times, but overall there is a lot of right-handed bats in that lineup that kind of do scare me off Conley a bit.
Yeah, he's a pivot. Not a strong option, but for tournaments, again, if you're making 5 to 10 lineups tonight, I think he's someone you have to at least take seriously in a few lineups.
Because if you look, Conley does have that strikeout upside. He misses plenty of bats. I mean, we've seen him in 3 out of 5 starts this year, 7 or more strikeouts.
Right.
But you put him against a better offense. Obviously, his games have come against Milwaukee, Washington, and New York.
Yeah.
Those Washington Mets, I mean, the second time around, they teed off on him. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe he's a one-hit wonder for certain nights.
You definitely don't have to look too far into those splits to see, okay, maybe this isn't going to work against better competition, and it actually hasn't so far this year. But on a slate like tonight, I think it's worth sort of taking the gamble here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he's got a higher strikeout upside than Happ, and he's 1,000 cheaper, so that kind of makes a swerve there. And it is a decent ballpark for pitching as well.
Right.
So he does have that. As far as the race side goes, I don't want a piece of him. He just gives up a ton of hard ball contact, and I'm looking to stack some Marlins guys.
Right.
So, next game here, and it's Nationals and Cubs. No line or over under out yet. But overall, I'd expect the Cubs to be favorites here. Kyle Hendricks against Joe Ross. Joe Ross been very solid. Not a big fan of his tonight, just because he is facing a left-handed team. And Ross hasn't been particularly great against lefties in his short career so far.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't really like this. I don't like his odds at getting a win tonight, really, against this Cubs lineup.
No, me either. I mean, right now the Cubs top 3 in offense against right-handed pitching. They don't strike out as much as they used to. I know this lineup might be without Hayward again. So overall, it's just still way too strong of a lineup for me to pick on. Curious to see what the Wrigley Winds are doing as well. That could just completely move off of this game and even shift this game into one of the better offensive targets tonight.
Right, definitely. Yeah, and I don't think I'm really going with Hendricks much tonight either. As I mentioned, he might have a decent shot at a win, but in terms of upside, I don't really see it.
Yeah, I mean, he's been serviceable this year, but overall, not a big upside guy. I think the wins there. Doesn't particularly go deep into games. And I think the price tag is a little iffy on me.
Yeah.
I mean, 8K just seems a little bit steep. I know FanDuel is cheaper, but still not particularly thrilling at the price tag. Next game, we got the Red Sox and the White Sox, over-under of 9. Henry Owens versus Eric Johnson. I want absolutely no piece of this game.
No.
Over-under 9. I'm looking to focus some offense here. I know it's been kind of some low-scoring games to start the series. The weather kind of helps pitchers out a little bit just because the balls died down. We saw a couple really hard-hit balls last night that on a summer night may have had a chance. I mean, Abreu and Ortiz are the only two bats that can, their power just outranks everything else.
Yeah, I'm not touching this game. We've been kind of approaching this series the same way every day. You just can't really go with these pitchers against these offenses.
No, yeah, I'm definitely with you. I mean, the White Sox have been slowly coming around. I know they're hitting well. They're kind of a timely hitting team, and once Abreu really gets going, this lineup's going to be pretty solid. I think once it hits its stride, it's going to be one of those teams you kind of stay away from at home for a little bit.
Right.
Next game here, Mariners and Astros. Wade Miley, Chris Davinsky making his start. 8.5 over under. This is another one. I mean, we were kind of we can cruise through a few of these games because they're just not on the radar.
I don't know. It's like we kind of went through a few guys that we feel okay on, a little lukewarm on, but these guys aren't really options for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, this guy's pitched out of the pen for the most part this year. Made a start last time against Oakland. Decent. I know he's cheap, but still, I just want more from my pitchers. I don't want 10 points, 8 points.
Right.
Even at the price tag, it's just not good. I think a win's up in the air for both guys.
Especially in tournaments, you mentioned this fact. It's like even if they hit value at this 4,700 Davinsky's at, what does that really get you in terms of upside? Like even though they hit value,
Yeah, I mean you essentially have to nail every hitter that you have to make up that difference, and that's just incredibly tough to do.
And let me tell you, with my Toronto stacks, that is hard to do, folks.
Oh man.
Anyway,
two games ago, I was gonna say last game of the night, but
that's Padres. Let's get into that.
Oh yeah, Jacob deGrom, 6.5 over under. Mets big favorites -186. Padres dead last in WOBA against right-handed pitching, 26% strikeout rates. I've been joking around, I've been throwing around everywhere. The next 4 days, you have your cash game pitcher lined up because it goes to DeGrom, Syndergaard, Colon, and Harvey in Petco against this Padres offense for 4 days.
Yeah, money.
money. Yeah, I mean, you're rolling them out night in and night out. It's just
Yeah.
going to be an easy call here. Um, but overall, I mean, DeGrom, obviously the strikeouts night rate is not up to where it was last year, but the swinging strike rate is. He's also faced some teams that don't strike out a ton. The Padres do. I expect him to be easily the top scoring pitcher of the night and by far the safest.
Yeah.
And even comes at not really a bad price tag at all. I think we've seen guys who gets the Padres kind of be up in that 12K and over range, but really 11.4 is not bad. I believe he's 10.8 on FanDuel. So you're not sacrificing it. You're getting an elite
No.
pitcher, and he's not knocking you down tremendously in remaining salary.
And even in tournaments, I don't think being a hero, like I don't see the upside with being a hero tonight with some of these lower end options. So I just don't see any reason to fade him.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think there's decent enough value, big time upside, some stats you can work around. And even if you want to pay down at your SP2 spot, that's where you do it at. You still have DeGrom in there for your base.
Right. Exactly. That's pretty simplistic.
Yeah. Next game here, over under of 8. And 8 is big in a park like AT&T. You got Chris Russ and Matt Cain there. Don't like a lefty against the Giants there because I just like Posey and Pence and those guys. And also Cain. Once again, he's lost his way. He is cooked.
He's cooked, sadly. Sad to say. He had a good run, though.
Take him off the grill. He is done. Serve him up.
Pouring one out for you, Matt Cain.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. Pour it out. He's done. So overall, I mean, to wrap things up, it's basically DeGrom happy. You kind of feel comfortable with on cash options. You're taking the bold on Holland. And then Tanaka comes in at kind of a number 2.
Right. Yeah. Those are the strong options. And then, I mean, you can take a gamble on Conley, sort of Gaussman a little bit. But other than that, I mean, it's really simple today. I wouldn't try to be a hero.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. So that's going to wrap it up with the pitcher nail down. Check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all our great tools and content.